Welcome once again to the Unit 5 of Pharmaceutics BP 103T Introduction to Semi-Solid Dosage Form. I am Anjali Mishra, Assistant Professor at Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology, Pharmacy Institute, Greater Noida. So, let's start because we had in the previous lecture we just saw what do you mean by semi-solid dosage form, what is the basic meaning of semi-solid dosage form. In this presentation, in this MOOCs lecture, we are going to study detailed note on what are the types and what are the classification of semi-solid dosage form. First of all, before beginning with the classification of semi-solid dosage form, let's have a quick revision of what exactly was semi-solid dosage form. So, whenever we hear this word semi-solid, the very first thing that comes in our mind is anything that is of semi-solid consistency. So, first thing that we have to note here is semi-solid consistency. So, that is neither entirely solid nor it is entirely liquid, it is anything that is present between semi-solid. Another thing that we have to keep in mind is it is always applied topically. So, topically, just now I have said topically means anything that is applied onto the external surface or into the mucous membrane. Another thing that we have to keep in mind here, it is non-invasive. It is non-invasive. So, there are no chances of entrapping or engulfing or injecting semi-solid dosage form into our body. So, these three important points if you have in mind, then only we can proceed with the further topic of semi-solid dosage form. So, first of all, it is of semi-solid consistency. Second of all, it is always applied topically, and third of all, it is non-invasive. So, when we have these three things in mind, then we are going to proceed and to understand that what are the basic types of semi-solid dosage form. So, very first thing that we have come across here is lotion. Lotion is a type of semi-solid dosage form as well. Another classification include your ointments. Okay. So, the major difference between lotion and between ointment is that lotion, the consistency is the major thing that divides or that distinguishes lotion from ointment. Lotion are typically of watery consistency. However, when we think about ointments are more of a thick consistency as compared to your lotion. Then another classification includes your creams. When we are going to study creams in a detailed manner, we are also going to understand that creams have a higher consistency as compared to your ointment. Another classification includes your pastes. So, these are some of the types of your semi-solid dosage form. Apart from these things, we also have certain additions. They are classified as gels. Apart from gels, we have another thing known as suppositories. And from suppositories, another classification that are also classified under semi-solid dosage form is transdermal patches. So, transdermal patches nowadays these transdermal patch have a huge demand into the pharmaceutical market because it is quite popular nowadays. So, such type of semi-solid dosage form is quite popular nowadays. So, when we hear anything that is lotion, ointment, creams, paste, gels, suppositories, transdermal patch, the first thing that should strike in our mind is that all these are categorized under one heading, and that is nothing but semi-solid dosage form. So, this was certain things about your semi-solid dosage form. Now, let us understand each and every part of the semi-solid dosage form in a detailed manner. The very first semi-solid dosage form that we are going to study now is ointments. So, whenever we hear this word ointment, what is the primary thing that strikes us? Ointment, जब हम ointment के बारे में सोचते हैं तो we think that ointment is something that is of greasy consistency or it is of semi-solid consistency. It is thick, it is not as runny as lotion. So, let us understand that whatever we think, does it really implies to the actual characteristics of ointment? Let us understand. First of all, it is a viscous semi-solid preparation. Definitely viscous means it has got a higher consistency. It is not as watery as we think about lotions. Lotions are very much watery. However, ointments are little more viscous as compared to your lotions as compared to your another semi-solid dosage form. So, it is very much viscous. Another characteristics is that it is extensively used for external or for the topical applications. As I discussed that semi-solid dosage forms are always applied topically, and they produce non-invasive type of non-invasive sort of drug delivery system. So definitely our ointment being a part of the semi-solid dosage form, it does also used externally and it is for topical applications. It can be applied onto the skin or onto the mucous membrane as well. For example, if I want to apply an ointment onto the under buccal cavity, so that is nothing but buccal cavity has got mucous membrane. So on that area also I can apply our ointment, and hence I can say that here the ointment is applied onto the mucous membrane. So for that it can be applied onto the skin or into the mucous membrane as well. It usually consists of active pharmaceutical ingredient, that is API, and in addition to API there is a major bulk portion known as nothing but a base. As I discussed, that base is nothing but it is a major portion that usually entraps the API into it. Hence it is very important, because we cannot supply API directly to a patient. For that purpose we need to choose an active base or suitable base in order to incorporate our API into it. So whenever we are formulating ointment, it is important to understand that what is base here and what is ointment, or what is the major API present here. So it can be in form of suspension or emulsions. So if we are formulating ointment, sometimes we want to disperse insoluble particle. So the product that we are going to formulate is nothing but your suspension. However, if the API is present in oily state, then the formulations that we come across is nothing but the emulsion. So ointment need not necessary that it can only be emulsion or can only be suspension. It can be a mixture of both as well, or it can exhibit these two characteristics. It can be sometimes suspension in nature, or it can be emulsion in nature as well. So these are some of the characteristics of ointment, that it is viscous in nature, it is majorly used extensively for external surfaces only, then it can be applied to the skin or into the mucous membrane. Another thing is that when we want to formulate ointment, we need two important things. The very first thing is API, and the another thing is the base into which that API is to be incorporated. Then the ointment that we make, it can be in the form of emulsion or it can be in the form of suspension as well. Moving on further, why are we using ointment? Why not we are preferring creams? Why not we are going on gels? So because ointments had got certain advantages over these another semi-solid dosage form, and also there are certain disadvantages. So let us understand the advantages and disadvantages of ointments. The very first advantages of ointment is that it is very much easy to handle as compared to another liquid dosage form. So it is very much easy to handle because that is a viscous preparation. So there are very chances spillage or breaking. So such things can be avoided when it comes to your ointment. So it is a viscous preparation. So handling of that preparation often comes in a very easy manner. So site specific action, yes, here I can say that ointment is a semi-solid dosage form. So site specific action can be obtained from it. Can I say that the action that I get is nothing but it produces local action? Another thing, it is chemically stable. So when I compare ointment with liquid dosage form, it is definitely a boon for us that semi-solid dosage forms are very much stable as compared to the liquid dosage form. So stability is definitely an important and factor which really enhances the use of ointment here. Another advantage, it is suitable for unconscious patient as well. So whatever the advantages of semi-solid dosage forms are there, those advantages are definitely an important factor here for ointment as well. Ointment being a semi-solid dosage form applied externally can be used for an unconscious patient as well. Here enhanced action is because of its better adhesion and because of its prolonged residence time. So here I would like to give you an example. Whenever we are applying anything, for example, if I want to apply anything on my hand, on the back surface of my hand, so if the product that I am applying is basically an ointment, so what happened, that ointment is going to adhere to my skin for a longer period of time. As a result, what is going to happen, the residence time or the contact time between the medicament and between the skin surface definitely is very high, As a result, the residence time, when the residence time is high, the contact time is high, so the time taken by the medicament to treat that particular area is definitely going to be high. So what here happens is the activity is prolonged or the activity is enhanced. That medicament does not get easily washed up from that surfaces. So we get prolonged action. So here patient compliances increases, because then and there we are not supposed to again and again apply that ointment to that surface. So this is really a proper and a very good advantage of ointments. So these were some of the advantages of ointment. Let us understand some of the disadvantages as well. So very first disadvantages, which was also a disadvantage of semi-solid dosage form, is less dose accuracy, because whenever general medical practitioner gives us to apply ointment, there is it is very difficult for him or her to actually explain us how much quantity of ointment we should apply. Sometimes what happens, we end up applying more ointments, or sometimes it may happen that we end up applying a little ointment as required. So it is very much understood that dose accuracy is often a big problem when it comes to your semi-solid dosage form. Another disadvantages of semi-solid dosage form is that it has got a very high risk of contamination, because usually it is applied by fingers, or sometimes it is applied by hand or any application surfaces. So what happens here is the chances of contamination is very much quite high as compared to another dosage form which are even sometimes supplied by a dropper. So that dropper can be sterilized. So chances of cross contamination in semi-solid dosage form, or specifically in ointment, is very much high as compared to other dosage forms. Now it may produce staining if the ointment is an emulsion, or if it is a greasy ointment. What is the major disadvantages? The thing is that it may lead to staining of the area where it is applied, or it may also lead to staining of the cloth, which is completely an undesirable phenomena. A patient does not want to stain his or her clothing by applying an ointment. So definitely staining is a no phenomena, or it is a disadvantages of an ointment. The last disadvantages of our ointment is that it is often bulky to handle than solid. Just now in the previous slide we just saw that ointments are easy to handle. However, when it comes to liquid dosage form, it is easy to handle. If I talk about solid dosage form, it is often bulky to handle, because solid dosage forms are very much firm and intact. So we do not need to take special care for them to we are not supposed to take special care because they are very much solid and intact. However, when it comes to a semi-solid dosage form, special care or special attention needs to be given, because they are often bulky, and if not special care is done, they may end up growing microbes in it, because it is semi-solid in nature. So these were some of the advantages of ointment, and the advantages and disadvantages. Moving ahead, the types of ointment. Types of ointment, majorly ointments are classified as medicated ointment and non-medicated ointment. So it is very much obvious from these two terms. Medicated ointments are those type of ointments that contains API in it, and it is often used for producing any sort of biological response. In the same manner, non-medicated ointments are such medicated ointments which do not contain API in it, and they are often used for another function. That another function may be, first of all, it can be for protective action. Sometimes it can be for cosmetic action as well. However, medicated ointment is going to produce anything that is going to evoke a biological response. As a result, these two types of ointment we have classified. Moving on to a further classification of medicated ointment, we have two important classification. Example here is neomycin ointment. Neomycin is nothing but it is an antibacterial ointment which are useful for various types of disorders, and another one is salicylic ointment. Now salicylic ointment is basically used to treat psoriasis, eczema and any kind of antifungal infection. Now example of non-medicated ointment, just now I have said these non-medicated purpose can be for cosmetic purpose or it can be for protective purpose. So here example is lubricant ointment or emollient ointment. Emollient is nothing but it is a sort of moisturizer. It is a sort of moisturizer. Anything it is that that usually locks the prevention of water dehydration or basically prevention of dehydration from skin is major function of your emollient sort of ointment. So these are some of the classification of ointments. Now let us understand packaging of ointment. So whenever a formulator formulates ointment, so what are the factors that the formulator keeps in mind while packaging these ointment? Majorly, if I say two types of jars or two types of collapsible tubes are supplied to the manufacturers by packaging department in order to package these ointments, in order to pack these ointments. The very first jar is supplied in order to pack ointments which are to be given in a huge quantity, because these ointments are supposed to be in wide mouth containers only. Wide mouth containers is an important aspect of packaging of ointment. Now why wide mouth? Because application or removal of the creams from finger is very much easy when we talk about wide mouth containers. So removal of creams becomes easy, application of creams and to the surface becomes easy. As a result, it is often supplied into a jars, as you can see here on the screen. These are nothing but these are wide mouth containers. So these are sometimes also called as ointment jars. Moving on, apart from this ointment jars, there are another thing that is supplied known as collapsible tubes. So here it is represented here on the screen. This is made up of aluminium. Sometimes it is of plastic as well, or it could be any metal. Nowadays all these metals are replaced by plastic because it is widely available, it is cheap. As a result, it does not cost too much to the manufacturer, hence it is oftenly supplied into a collapsible tube as well. Now another advantage of packaging of ointment tubes as compared to these jars is that here chances of contamination is quite less when we compare it with ointment jars, because collapsible tubes works just on the application of pressure from one end. If we apply pressure on this end, the material is ejected or evacuated from the another end. Hence, as a result, what happens here is the chances of contamination is oftenly decreased, oftenly minimized when ointments are supplied it into the collapsible tubes. Now moving ahead, we just now saw what is ointment, what are the advantages and disadvantages of ointments, how an ointment is packaged, and what are the formulation factors that is kept in mind while formulating the ointments. Now we are going to study another dosage form classified as creams. So let us understand what are creams, what are the characteristics of creams. The very first thing is that it is a viscous liquid or semi-solid dosage form. So creams need not to be very much viscous or need not to be very much thin as compared to your ointment. Another thing, it is comparatively lighter than ointment. Just now I have said ointments are very much thick as compared to your creams. So can I say that cream is very much less consistency as your ointment? So definitely that's true. So it can be O by W or it can be W by O. Now what is O by W? Oil in water type of creams can be present, or sometimes it can be water in oil types of cream. So when I say O by W, so what I mean is oil is present in the lesser quantity and water is present in the major quantity. Or when I say W by O type of cream, what do I mean is, I mean that water is present in the lesser amount and another particle or another constituent, that oil, is present in the higher amount. So it can be a composition of both as well. Another characteristics is that it is easier to spread than ointment. Definitely, if the consistency of cream is less as compared to your ointment, the application becomes very much smooth. The application becomes easy as compared to the ointment. And if the application is easy, the removal also becomes easy. Because when we want to remove ointment from a particular surface, we require using of either soap solution or any sort of washes. However, such is not the case when we want to apply creams. Creams are easy to apply and at the same time they are very much easy to remove as well. Generally, it is used as an emollient. Majorly here I would like to add here is creams are also a medicated types, but at the same time it is also used as a non-medicated, that is for emollient purpose as well. Now can also be used as a medicated applicant to the skin. Here here the classification of creams occurs that the creams can be used for medicated purposes and it can be useful for non-medicated purposes as well. Non-medicated means for the application of protection or for the application of cosmetic function. Now creams, just now I have said creams are of two types, they are oily in nature and they can be aqueous in nature as well. If I say oily in nature, so it is of W by O type of cream. If I say aqueous in nature, then it is of O by W type of cream because water is present in larger amount. Creams are always placed in airtight containers. So any formulations has to be placed in airtight containers because we do not want the surrounding air gets incorporated into our container and make our product useless or make us bacterial or any sort of fungal or any sort of microbial growth in it. So oftenly creams are supplied in a container that are airtight in nature. So it can be either plastic or it can be metal collapsible tubes. So container can be as the same as that we saw for the ointment. It can be a medical, it can be a jar containers or it can be a collapsible tube as well. So aluminium tubes are not suitable as there can be leaching due to the presence of organic mercury compound. Here a very important thing that has to be kept in mind, aluminium containers are not to be used when we are making anything that is of cream in nature, because leaching may occur and the product may get contaminated. So jars are often supplied with impermeable liners for storing creams. So jars are present here in which lining is given. Lining is provided because to avoid cross contamination of our product with the external product which is made, which is actually used for making that particular equipment. Now here I would like to add another semi-solid dosage form here, that is nothing but the paste. Now let us understand the major difference between cream, ointment and paste. So when I talk about paste, so it is also a semi-solid dosage form which are meant for the application onto the surface of skin. Then major difference, this is an important point that is to be noted here, is major difference between ointment and paste is that the latter consists of finely divided powders. Then due to the presence of fine powders in large amount, pastes are quite stiff and greasy when we compare it with the ointment. So can I say that ointment have got a lesser consistency as compared to paste? So definitely yes, the paste have got a higher consistency. Least aesthetic appearance and often unappealing. However, due to greasy nature, it is strongly adhered to the affected area. So when anything is of when anything consists of huge solid particles in it, the thing that comes out is of often unappealing nature. So any pastes are often considered to be have a low aesthetic value. So definitely acceptance is low. So if I compare paste and ointment, so ointment are less greasy, ointment have less thickness as compared to the paste. So first of majorly paste do not melt easily because paste have got a higher consistency, as a result they do not melt easily. Another thing, they form a protective coat at the site of application. Pastes form a protective coat at the site of application because pastes are of high consistency. So when we apply paste to a particular area, it adheres to that area for a longer period of time. So site of application also increases and residence time of the paste adhering to that particular skin also increases. Mainly it is to be applied with the spatula. Oftenly a spatula is being supplied and that is being used to encode a particular affected area. Sometimes application can also be done with the aid of lint balls, or it can be some other sort of dressing material. Either we can go for spatula or we can even choose any sort of dressing material. So let us understand the advantage and disadvantages. Pastes have got a higher adherence, hence the residence time and prolonged action is being obtained when we apply paste. Another advantage is that it absorbs exudates from the area where it is affected. So major advantage, if we apply paste onto an affected area where there is an injury, what the paste is doing, the paste is going to absorb all the inflammatory actions or inflammatory hormones that is being released and thus soothes the affected area. However, certain disadvantages are also present. That disadvantages include it is not suitable for hairy parts of the body. Definitely it is not at all suitable. Now, difficulty in removal from the surface. If it is applied to a surface where there are huge amount of hair, the removal from that surfaces often becomes difficult. So, that was all about the 3 important semi-solid dosage form that we just saw in this lecture, that include your ointment, creams and paste. Rest all we are going to cover in the next lecture. I hope this lecture was very much informative for all of you. So, thank you so much.